back to another episode of the Tetracast. This is RPG Site's weekly podcast where we get the site staff together to talk about our favorite genre of video games. We've got the usual crew here today. That's me. I'm Brian Vitale. Joining me, Josh Torres.
Huge news this week for Dissidia fans. I'm excited.
Mikhail Menani.
Ball X Pit.
Adam Vitale.
Hello.
James Glizio.
Hey, folks, I'm very tired.
Zhao Minwu.
I'll try the new Dissidia.
Yeah, I think it
Let's
was
go.
within a day of our recording, maybe even like a few hours, that the Dissidia news, like some of the art was like leaking within, like, as the official announcement was imminent. So I think it was actually formally announced by the time our podcast got uploaded. So that was like very early news this week. So we will be covering new Dissidia Duellum Final Fantasy. But the main topic this week is going to be, of course, the big release for the weekend, and that is Pokemon Legends ZA. This has kind of been circled on our calendar for a while. If you follow RPG Site at all, you've seen a lot of features go up on the site, including a review and a lot of guides and a few comparisons, like technical specs for the game. So here we're going to make that our primary topic. Not a lot of news this week, so we're kind of in that time of the year where games are releasing. So we're going to spend more time talking about our impressions on those games as we get through them, rather than going into like news, announcements, headlines, trailers, that sort of thing. So we'll talk about Pokemon as our primary topic. We'll go a little bit into Steam Next Fest. And then we have a few other features of the site. We'll wrap up the small bit of news that there is, and a few things, a few programming notes as we go into towards the end of the year. One other programming note for this podcast: whenever we start recording these podcasts, we, the participants here on the Tetracast, don't know how long they're going to be. We kind of have an idea based on the outline, but we don't really know. I do have a hard stop, so I might need to step out early. So if I do, I'm just making a statement up front, so it's not a surprise. But we'll see where that ends up being in terms of the runtime of the podcast. But without further ado, we're going to open up with Pokemon Legends ZA. And we have a few people on staff that have been playing this game, but I'm going to open the floor starting out with James Galizio, who has been our primary coverage and our review author for Pokemon Legends ZA. So take it away, James, and then we'll let others, chime in as the discussion gets rolling.
Yeah, so I guess the big thing is, hey, we got early code for Pokemon this time. I was able to get a review out before launch for the embargo for the first time ever, which was really cool. Not great for my sleep schedule, but hey, I mean, I got to play Pokemon early.
It was pretty strict,
Oh.
yeah. The time
They
gap.
gave us code like 6 days before review embargo lifted, which meant that I had 6 days to beat and then review the game. If I wasn't doing guides, which obviously was very important, I probably would not have stressed to necessarily meet embargo. I do know that IGN actually waited like a couple of days after embargo in order to put up the review. Though in that case, I think it was less to do necessarily with the time and more, man, those embargo restrictions for what we could actually talk about were really strict. And since IGN has to do video reviews, they're like, fuck it, it's not worth it. We'll just wait until the game's actually out so we don't have to abide by those restrictions in the video review, which would be basically impossible otherwise. But yeah, like apparently you couldn't say that Dratini was in the game, even though
Okay, that's
you
weird.
knew that Dragonite was. It's like,
That's odd.
yeah,
Okay, that's a
yeah.
weird.
There are a lot of
restriction.
benefits, both like literal and more like intangible, to just standing off in a review, and we've done that plenty. And like whether or not we got early code for Pokemon, we were going to cover it as we always do. And the early code is more just for scheduling purposes, knowing when we're going to get it, knowing when the release date is, looking at all the other releases in the month, rather than like, when are we going to get it? Do we just need to purchase our own copy? Because we will also do that if we need to. So it's more for planning than anything else. So it's really nice that you're able to get it early.
Yeah. And it worked out anyways, because my local store that breaks street date was only able to get Pokemon like a day before instead of day of this time, or well, a couple of days early this time. So, would have delayed me a little bit, but it doesn't matter.
How is it, James?
It's good. I mentioned it in my review, and I think the one core takeaway for Legends EA is that pretty explicitly feels like a game that was designed to be like the antithesis of Legends Arceus, which I think is fascinating because Legends Arceus was already a very, very big departure from the series as a whole. And yet, Legends EA is just as much of a departure, but like in the exact opposite direction. And really, if I could sum up my review, it's I think a lot of people, myself included, were curious what exactly Game Freak considered a Pokemon Legends to be compared to like a regular Pokemon. And now it's very clear that it's like, oh, it's a Pokemon game that lets them be experimental as shit. And I think that rules.
Yeah, it's kind of like you said. It's kind of weird inverse because in Legends Arceus, that was all about like a more ancient time period about building the first Pokédex. So everything kind of felt primitive, but like in ways that fit the theme and atmosphere of that game. And this one is like you're now the entire game is set in Lumio City and only in this city, but there's obviously different parts of the city that you can go to, and there's still almost like a building Pokedex aspect to it, where you go to this professor and you're like doing research data instead. And then as you capture more Pokemon, more different types of Pokemon, doing more checklisty things of like what you're as you're capturing things, you're still getting stuff for it, mainly TMs, to add on moves to your Pokemon. So there's still this aspect of building a Pokedex, but in a different way than Legends Arceus is. It's just like it's a really weirdly fitting thing for this because this is like more industrial themed, the obviously than the Legends before it. And I think it's one of the first like modern Pokemon games. Like I always try at least a little bit of modern Pokemon games, but very very few have really hooked onto me. And this one has kind of almost stars aligned for me of like, okay, I understand what this game is going for. It helps obviously that the Switch 2 version runs at a consistent 60 FPS from day one. You don't have to wait for new hardware or whatever. It's just like it works on day one. And it also, I really like because they focus so much on this city aspect to it, and the free roam exploration is a lot of fun for me because there's a vertical aspect to it. Like, hey, you actually get on rooftops, and there's actually a path through the rooftops to go find like new Pokemon and new items and stuff along with it. So it helps for me that like, hey, like it's not just about exploring the ground level, but there's a pretty robust like rooftop, almost labyrinth that you can explore to it as well. And I think that's a really fun twist to it, especially when you start um blending in like different light platforming elements. Like for example, if you want to get to this rooftop from where you are, there might be a little string of web that you need to like expand, and there's like a little web hive that you need to hit with your Pokemon to expand it. But some Pokemon physically cannot get there since everything's in real time now. So like if I have like let's say my Totodile try to use an attack that like it needs to go up on
Yeah,
it
you have to
physically
use like
for.
water guns.
Yeah, you
And
have to use water gun instead. You have to
so
do a range attack. It's
yeah, a
really
good
it's funny.
example of that is that, like, for example, I had a Dragonite in my playthrough,
Mm.
and my Dragonite, it can fucking fly, so it can just do a physical attack and just, like, fly right up to it, it doesn't matter. But if I wanted to use, like, my Meganium, I would have to use, like, Solar Beam or Energy Ball or
Yeah.
something like that, because otherwise that thing can't fly, it walks off a roof, I need to find a new Meganium. Yeah, I do think it's really fascinating how there's like a real verticality to the urban exploration, and like a lot of the game is based around, okay, how the fuck do I get to this roof specifically? And you really have to plan like in advance. It's like, okay, what's close to it, especially once you get the Rotom guy. It's like, okay, I can drop off this roof that's a little bit further and I can use the glide to get to it. So how do I get to this roof so I can get to the other roof that I actually want to get to? And obviously there's collectible stuff. Like you'll get these colorful screws which you can exchange for like these plushies that give you like permanent buffs to like XP gain and mega shards from busting crystals and catch rate for Pokemon, which is surprisingly important if you want to get something like a Dratini or an Eevee, because those things will fucking run And yes, you get a higher chance to catch something if you knock it out, but you only get one attempt. You get one Pokeball throw, and then if that doesn't catch it, they're gone. I remember I found like several Dratinis before I was able to actually catch one. And a buddy of mine like found a shiny Dratini. He was so excited, and he tried to catch it and it ran away. And I was like, "Oh, dude, I feel terrible." Good
And you
lord.
can't save scum in this game because they have a pretty strict autosave, one slot autosave there. That's they're really trying to cut down on save scumming, which is, for some people a real heartbreaker for a shiny hunt, and all that stuff. But as you mentioned, like, even I remember just even in the early game, tried to catch an Abra in the game, was like, if they see you, they'll just teleport away immediately. You're like, okay, I have to really you have to really think about line of sight in this game, because since everything's in real time and so you just can't like snap to a turn-based scenario. You have to actually start thinking about, okay, I can't have this trainer or their Pokemon like look at me this way, so I have to angle myself in this position relevant to their position, so I have either have a clear throw or a clear line of sight of my Pokemon to go up there and do like an ambush encounter, or in this or for a Pokemon that you want to capture, it'll show like arrows of like your probability to capture them with a Pokeball. And obviously being at the rear of them will raise that probability up. And as you said, like, some Pokemon behavior is just like, if they see you, boom, they're gone. It's like you have very little time to get your act together to make that capture. But of course, if they're more aggressive, and they're willing to fight with your Pokemon, obviously you can uh, battle them, and then when their HP is down to 0, you have a few seconds while they're like dazed to get that Pokeball throw attempt for a very likely scenario of like capturing them, and that's so it's actually like, I guess it's natural to talk about, like, hey, this Pokemon real time battle system that they have in this game, it's deceivingly like, it on the surface, when you're still trying to get your head around it, you're like, this doesn't seem that complex. And as you play more through it, it's like, okay, I start to think about these scenarios where I can avoid Pokemon enemy attacks, because when I lock onto an enemy Pokemon, that'll pull up the menu of your attacks, and then they all work on cooldowns now. But if you unlock away from them, then your Pokemon will just like kind of follow you around. So there's definitely a ways of like fiddling with your Pokemon position depending on your lock and unlock state in there, and that's
Yeah.
kind of fun too, to
And if
kind
you
of
know
mess
the
around.
characteristics of specific attacks, you can actually take advantage of that. Like if a Pokemon is using Rock Throw and you see it like that text pop up, you can immediately disengage and just walk away, and it'll totally fucking whiff.
The thing that's really cool about this is like there's some knockback properties on some Pokemon attacks. So there's definitely times where like you get out an attack before the Pokemon gets out an attack, and that attack that you use has a knockback property, so you can hit them, and whatever attack they were about to use, since they're like, if it's like a close range attack, you'll knock them back, and then that attack will whiff entirely because you knocked that Pokemon back. And it's like, huh, that's a really weird thing to consider in a Pokemon game, like that. It's kind of really fascinating too, because obviously, like we were mentioning earlier, some attacks you need to be physically near a Pokemon to execute to hit them, and some like Psybeam, they'll just do it in place. So there are definitely times where like, okay, I'm at a safe distance. I don't need my Pokemon to be up there by this Pokemon that they're using that has more close range oriented attacks. So I can just like attack from afar with this Psybeam, and like kind of almost you can almost kite certain Pokemon around, depending on like what Pokemon is
Yeah.
attacking you.
It's
So
funny, like how
crazy.
you kind of see this come into focus if you do the online multiplayer, which you need to do if you want to get the Kalos starter Mega Evolutions and
Yeah.
thanks Game Freak.
hmm
Uh, I felt so bad. Well, actually, no, I didn't. Fuck them kids. I I went into the online multiplayer with with Excadrill, and I used Earthquake. And Earthquake, the way it works, it's like AoE around you, and it's like, as long as they're not flying, which, fun fact, if someone has a Charizard and they Mega Evolves into Mega Charizard X, they fucked up. I'm about to KO them with Earthquake because it changes it from a fire flying to fire dragon. So yeah.
Interesting. That's just really funny. Like additional properties to consider too, because of like whether you're on the ground or not. Like that'll make a big difference, especially in this real time combat of like how certain positional moves can definitely get you can get screwed over. Like there's even like moves like Future Sight, for example, where like they set off like an AoE field, and then they take like maybe 2 to 3 seconds for like that meteor shower to like attack to go down on. It has like a big like its firepower is like huge on paper, like numbers wise, but you have to realize that also it's because it's established an AoE field, and then like a star shower is going to go down that AoE field, so it'll do multiple hits, and then what it's accounting for in that damage as well. So you kind of have to be wary of like what are the properties of your moves when you actually use them as well. It's like I'm kind of really impressed, honestly. Of like on paper, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. I don't know how long this gimmick will wear out. Like I wasn't sure, but they found interesting ways to make it engaging, like in ways that I wasn't expecting. And I'm kind of interested to see like how this evolves further. Like I'm not too far in the game, like maybe 11, 12 hours ish at max, and I just I'm at the story beat where you get like an Absol, and you equip it with like a Mega Stone. It's basically an introduction of like, hi, here's how Mega Evolution works in this game. So I'm there right now. But I heard from you, James, and several other reviews like this game. It serves as a sequel to X and Y, but there's actually like a real like interesting, engaging story here on the human side as well with these characters.
Yeah, and you kind of saw a little bit of it in Legends Arceus, where there was like a whole thing where it's like your rival is straight up like kind of afraid of her partner Pokemon,
Mhm.
even though they like admit that. But like that was one thing I did really enjoy about Legends Arceus, and it kind of extends to this one, where the Pokemon world has always felt like Flanderization is not the right word, or Flanderized is not the right word because it's always kind of been this way, even though there's been like hints and like bits and pieces that hint at like, okay, what's the actual structure of the Pokemon world? And it sounds stupid to talk about this, but the thing that I love the most about Legends EA is that it is not like it feels like a proper city. Not everyone is okay with wild zones being right next to their condo. you,
Yeah,
you see people complaining about, you see people that are like, no, we do want to live like side by side with Pokemon, but these wild zones just ain't it. And it's like, it actually makes the Pokemon world, ironically enough, because they were able to focus on just this one city, and you see all the different like viewpoints. The fact they restricted this just to Lumio City because of what they've been able to showcase about the Pokemon world by focusing on an urban environment and how people in Pokemon have to learn to live with each other. And like so many of like I've seen people complaining about how so many of the side quests are basically or side missions are basically just tutorials, which is true. But a lot of them get into some really interesting places about how like, oh, yeah, no, this is a problem that people have to deal with because they're like Pokemon are their neighbors. Or even for the Pokemon themselves, it can be a pain in the ass. Like for example, the side mission where you're trying to get a Fennekin. That Fennekin's sick because the revitalizing twig that it normally uses to basically get its energy back is in a wild zone, which it's not in. And the like herbalist that usually gathers them, it's not safe for him to go into a wild zone because he's not a Pokemon trainer. Stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I remember that. Yeah, and it it's kind of very smart of them to for this entry to explore this whole dynamic between people and Pokemon just in one city alone, because it makes it more intimate. Like you kind of get a better focus on the scope of like these problems in a more like bigger scope city. Because if you're traveling from place to place, it's hard to like kind of make that theme consistent throughout the game, because you can start exploring how different towns would explore this dynamic between Pokemon and humans, but it wouldn't feel as intimate as like being in this one city alone for this entry that they decided to do. And I think it starts to really work because it starts to really grow on you of like, hey, like these random people that like you don't really interact with, but you see them like on like a quote unquote day-to-day basis in this game because this game works off of like day and night cycles. So you kind of see these people kind of get new problems almost every day in this game of like, okay, what's the crazy weird Pokemon scenario that they're having problem that they're having now? Like there's one side quest or like there's like this artist that's like, I want to get a good photo, but like these branches keep respawning at this one spot, and like, can you please burn them? And it's like, and it's because of like some at the end of that side quest, you find like the Pokemon who keeps on, ruining the picture of it, like the whole brambles that keep popping up in it, and it's like these like little moments in these side quests that's like, it's like, oh, I never really considered that. Like if people and Pokemon just like freely live together in a city, it's kind of like an interesting microcosm of like, if enough time passes of people and Pokemon living together in an urban setting, what kinds of problems and challenges would occur as enough time passes? And that's kind of a really fascinating thing to see unfold, even early on where I am. Like, and you'll see, and even through like multiple NPC dialogue boxes of like, there's some weird shit people say in this game. Like you just see like some dude in a corner. He's like, I just want to smell Pokemon. I'm like, all right, dude.
Yeah, he was tired of his
you
life
say
or
so.
something. He's like,
And then you
No.
find like one of the 50 old men NPCs that are just like, when did I forget about what I wanted to live for? Like,
It's like,
like
what is
Jesus
going on in this
Christ,
game?
dude.
This game's kind
Yeah.
of crazy, but but it's
I
really
do I
go
do
for it.
very much appreciate the undertone of Lumio City is not okay. Like they
Mhm.
explicitly say that it's like part of the reason that the urban redevelopment project even exists is because people were fucking leaving after Team Flare. People are like, this city ain't safe. I need to get out of Dodge. And
Yeah,
there's like a whole undertone of
right.
that. And then there's like even elements like you probably haven't seen it yet, but like one of your friends will straight up talk to you about how, oh yeah, I moved to Lumio City to like go to school to like help be a better dancer. And like my roommate had to move out because she got a scholarship. I'm worried about rent. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Damn.
Which also that one dialogue is like, this is the first Pokemon game, well, mainline Pokemon game, where I'm pretty sure the main character is an adult, or at least like 18, like 17, 18, which is interesting to think about.
Wow. Yeah. Uh, I'm just kind of interested, like to see this whole way through and like what they're going for, because like it's still, I'm still early. I still don't know have a good grasp of like what's like the main story that they're driving home yet. But I'm really interested. Like they've made their case of like why I should care about this Pokemon game, and other games like, I've been kind of mainly miss on that regard. Well, I'll try that out for maybe an hour or two, and like I'm not really feeling it, whether it's performance wise or otherwise. But this one is just, I don't know. There's just something about it that like makes me really fascinated with the whole thing, especially when a a part of the game, like we've known this for a while, but it's just like it's just weird seeing it in person. Like, hey, at nighttime in this game, there are certain parts of the city where like murder is legal, pretty much, where you can just you go into these battle zones. They have like a red border around them, and like anything goes in those zones. When anyone sees you, they're gonna fucking shake. You're gonna shake you with their Pokemon, and those Pokemon will sometimes target like you, the person, in battle, and you can actually like faint it, like your character can actually like faint themselves in this game, and they'll just respawn back to a Pokemon center. But hey, the Pokemon can target your character, and if you take enough hits, um you will just kind of die and go back to a
Yeah,
Pokemon center.
I remember I was in a wild zone trying to catch some Pokemon, and I got targeted by an elf, and I was like, oh shit, oh fuck, I was trying to stay alive, and then right as like 3 Pokemon were trying to beat the shit out of me, a 4th one joined in. It was like a shiny Heracross, and I was like, well, fuck, I can't just leave now.
Yeah. Yeah. You have those like weird scenarios. I'm like, oh shit, there's a shiny here, but I'm getting like murdered by at least 3 other Pokemon. Like my first like real wake up call on that mechanic was there's an early wild zone where there's only at nighttime this high level Staryu spawns in. And like this Staryu does not care about your Pokemon. It's trying to snipe the shit out of your character. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go battle this Staryu and hopefully have enough high level Pokemon. But even before I got through my whole Pokemon roster to kind of chip away its health, it was like firing like water guns and ice beams and whatever, like directly to my character, not even caring about. It's like its back was like facing my Pokemon, and it did not give a shit. It's like, I'm gonna kill you. I'm like, okay, Staryu, all right. That's how it must be. Then I guess we're here now, and that just extends also to like the battle zones as well, where a very very early story beat. Well, I forgot, like I think it was like a Floette or whatever this Pokemon is called. Sorry if I don't remember like Pokemon names
You
off
got
the
it
top of
right.
my head. You'll meet this Floette for the first time, and it's like coming to your rescue against these 3 bullies in your first night of like in a battle zone. And like your one of your friends Tawny is like telling Floette stop as it's charging its like mega laser beam because it was targeting these 3 bullies directly in front of them. And if it thought that laser beam hit them, they would have all been vaporized along with their Pokemon. And
Yeah,
Tawny's like, yeah, hey, redirect your Giga laser beam like just to scare them off. Don't like hit them and
yeah,
kill them.
I love how like they do not mince words. I say they because it could also be like if you play as a girl, you get Urbane as
Okay, yeah, got it.
rival instead of Tawny, which it's really funny how their names are literally just urban and town.
I didn't think about that shit.
But yeah, just straight up them saying, Floette, you can't Eternal Flower Floette, you cannot be doing that. Killing people's illegal.
It's like it can't be if there's no human remains, then how could it be, illegal? There's no evidence. There's no evidence left of them.
Yeah.
Um, it's yeah, it's a really just weirdly like, that's just the thing in this game. And I shared earlier on social media, like we're recording this on Saturday, but like there's a side quest in this wild zone. It's like an early level, like an early wild zone, like what you thought was just like just early level Pokemon. I'm like, okay, I can go pick up this side quest there because that's where the marker is. There's like this level 32 Alpha Houndoom randomly outside of it, like, and then like 3 other like almost similarly leveled like the pre-evolution of
Remind me,
Houndoom.
were alphas introduced in this game, or were there alphas in Arceus? I don't remember
They
the
were in
term.
Arceus. Technically, they were
Okay.
also in Scarlet and Violet too, but they weren't as obvious. So
Oh,
Yeah.
that was just where they had to have different size when you grabbed
yeah,
them, right? Is that it?
yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to point out that Will's preview that he did for ZA, he went on about the Houndoom, basically harassing him
That's
throughout the whole
funny.
demo.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so I had that moment of like, hey, there's this Houndoom with red eyes and like Houndours around him. And I'm just trying to like talk to this person to get my side quest, but then they're like, no, we smell you. We're gonna murder you. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna run away. Then I just
Yeah,
didn't think about the border.
my quote post for that just being like, "You don't bite the fuck, you don't."
It's yeah, and that's like, and there's like another like instance in that wild zone as well when I went back there after healing my Pokemon, where there was another different alpha Pokemon by that same like side quest NPC. So so there's just like 2 alphas with red eyes ready to kill me, and I was like, can I just like talk to this person in peace first? Like I don't want to fuck with you guys right now. I just want to get the side quest done. And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, that's how that has to be then. So it's really something. It's really I really love the touch of like the red eyes on the alphas because like it's just it looks so funny. And also I won't spoil any like the mega designs that have been floating around, but obviously on the internet there's been several mega Pokemon designs that have really made the rounds that I'm like, man, they've there's some real crazy, wacky, stupid, but really funny new mega designs in this game. I'm like,
Yeah, there's
Sure,
some
man.
there's some really, really good ones. There man, I need to wait like a couple of days before I can start like talking about some of my favorite Mega Pokemon designs because some of them, it's not even the designs themselves, but the Pokedex entries that make me go, "What the fuck, man?"
Oh, I need to start reading those. I haven't done my like. Should I read those that are for the Mega specifically, or there's some specific Pokemon that have like good Pokedex entries?
I mean, always read the Pokedex because it's a good time, but like there's a Mega Evolution Pokedex that says specific things for Mega Evolutions.
Okay,
Eh, Uh, do you want me to say this one specific one? We can just put a spoiler warning in the.
sure, yeah. Hit me
Okay,
with it.
okay. This is a spoiler. If you're listening, just like go ahead, like 30 seconds. Mega Dragalge straight up says that it's poison gives you cancer.
What? Oh my god, that's crazy. Okay.
Yeah,
This Pokemon is a carcinogen.
yeah. It it straight up says, yeah, it's poison. Will give any of our Pokemon cancer.
Oh my god. Well, you learn
Crazy.
something. You learn something new with every Pokemon entry. The lore just
I feel like
expands.
ever since the DS entries, I've seen like Pokedex entries go hard, like way more than like the tone of the game would normally suggest that they should. So
Yeah.
I see that. I'm
Mm.
like, yeah, yeah. One thing that you mentioned very early on is that how this Pokemon Legends ZA is Pokemon Legends Arceus was kind of like the antithesis to a traditional Pokemon game. And this is also that, but in the other direction. So I just want to think like more generically. I have not played this game yet. I've seen tons of social media buzz, like surprise, Pokemon's still like the biggest IP in the world. People like sharing their trainer outfits, people sharing like, because I guess none of the clothing is gender locked, so you can just have anyone wear anything, which is really cool.
Yeah.
People talking about like what you can do with that. People like
I
sharing
know
like the photo mode at the coffee shops, and it's just what does this game like when you're in hour 5, hour 10, if like sometimes for the Pokemon Legends Arceus, one of the weaknesses is that you kind of just went on the field and you just captured Pokemon after Pokemon after Pokemon, throwing out Pokeballs left, right, and it felt like it didn't have a lot of focus. For this game, it seems like it has a little bit more latched down in terms of the gameplay systems, the exploration of the city, the night battles. I forget what you call those. Just what's your general feeling about just the gameplay systems present in the game?
Yeah, so I actually do very much like the structure of Legends EA. I think the one main complaint I would have is that I think that there should have been a little more areas that are like connected to Lumio City. Like there's sewers, you can explore that. There's like one area in the end game that you can explore that's like a little mini dungeon. I wish there was like 2 or 3 more of those. I think that's, like, the one thing I wish. Like, proper catacombs would have been nice because it's, like, France inspired. I mean, Paris inspired, come on. But maybe the DLC will do that. Now,
Mhm.
granted, that DLC is coming out, like, end of February, so it's, like, coming out really soon, and I can understand people who would be upset. It's like, "Why isn't that just in the base game?" That's valid. And I think that the exploration that is there is nice, and I do appreciate that there is anything like that because there was a lot of people that were concerned that was just gonna be the city. But,
So just kind of like a world scope, it could have been bumped, you
yeah,
think?
I do not I'm actually very glad that they exclusively focused on Lumios because I do genuinely think the idea of no, the scope of this is it's an urban exploration RPG, and we don't actually get that many of those that are explicitly just, "Oh, no, it's only in this one city," and I think that's genuinely something that more games could do. I think it's really fascinating.
Yeah,
So,
it's fun like battling on like the rooftops and like you can like tackle a Pokemon and if it's not flying, it'll just drop down. You still get experience from it. It's like you can just like push this Pokemon off the building, and there you go, easy experience.
yeah.
Um, but it's it's kind of a weird thing because like I when I think about this game and I think about Digimon Story Time Stranger, both very different games. It's dumb to even like compare like which is better and which is not. But there are definitely aspects of this game that I feel like are kind of weirdly just not even compared to Digimon Story Time Stranger, but it's like weirdly outdated. Like for example, there's no auto sort on the box. You have to manually sort your box of Pokemon in this game. I don't know if you'd like that's something that can happen in Pokemon Home for the auto sorting or whatnot. But I was like, because I came off of Time Stranger. Time Stranger has pretty robust auto sorting options. Like, hey, do you want to order all your Digimon alphabetically? Do you want to order them by like generation, or like whether like what tier of evolution they're on, or do you want to sort them all by type? And so forth. So coming off of that game very recently, like okay, like I spent a good like 30 seconds in that box menu where like where's the auto sort? And like I'm like, am I missing something? I like pressed every button. I'm like, am I missing something?
And then you have the
And
realization, you're like, there is no
I googled it. I was like, I googled, is there like any auto sort? It's like no. Like what? Why is there no auto sorting? Um, and that's annoying. Another thing I don't like that they it's kind of a weird regression where there are still some Pokemon evolutions in this game that are like trade evolution locked, meaning that hey, I have a Haunter or Kadabra in my active main party, and I want to evolve them to a Gengar and Alakazam. Well, you cannot do that by reaching a certain level. You must trade that with another player, and then for them to trade you back the Pokemon that you traded with them, and then they'll be automatically a Gengar and Alakazam because you traded with them.
Yeah.
And,
And to
and
be
like
clear,
there was an item called like the Link Cable in Arceus where like kind of bypassed them.
which is not in
Yeah,
like Legends EA. Uh, and it's a very valid complaint, especially like of the same vein as the complaints about you advertised the Kalos starter Mega Evolutions in a trailer and you didn't make it immediately clear that one, it's only part of a seasonal PvP thing, which obviously means that you have to pay for NSO in order to even be able to access this.
correct. Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
straight up, I do think that's like my biggest complaint. It's like, why the fuck aren't the Kalos starter Mega Evolutions just in the game? Why
You
did you
also
make yeah.
you also need that subscription to even trade with other players to get your
Yeah.
trade evolutions as well. So
Yeah, it's
that
like
just all pay locked.
theoretically you should be able to finish your Pokedex without that because there are rare spawns for like evolved Pokemon that require trade evolutions, but there's like at least two that I haven't seen those evolutions in the wild. I haven't seen those two. And like I don't know anyone that's seen those two. So it's possible that you just can't get those without trading, which means that you won't be able to complete the Pokedex without paying for NSO, which is kind of bullshit. Which I guess you could argue that's the same for every other Pokemon game except Legends Arceus, but it's like, come on now. Come on.
There's also another pet peeve because I came off of Time Stranger, where in Time Stranger they make it very clear about like, hey, which Digimon can be evolved or digivolved into like multiple different ones because they'll have a whole Digivolution tree. It's like, hey, this Agumon at like whenever you reach like these stats, you can evolve into this like Digimon. Like if you've never seen it yet, it'll be silhouetted, but at least you know, hey, it can like it has a new like it has a new Digivolution that it has access to. While on this one, I don't like. I've been out of the Pokemon game for a while, so I don't know exactly like which Pokemon can evolve into what and what level they have to be. I don't have that institutional knowledge, so I'm like, okay, there's this Pokemon I don't really know. Does it have an evolution? I don't know. There's like as far as I could tell after rummaging through the menus, I'm like, there's nothing in this game that tells me explicitly whether this Pokemon can be evolved or not. Unlike Time Stranger, it's like that it makes it all that perfectly clear in front of you. So I have to like resort to guides of like, okay, which of the Pokemon I have can be evolved, and do I want to feed them candy to evolve them to reach this level and evolve them? And then, but obviously, we've had this for a very long time in Pokemon, where there are also some evolutions which are like locked to an item, like a Thunderstone. Like you use the Thunderstone Pikachu, it's on to Raichu. Like Okay, I remember that from way back when, but obviously there's been many, many, many more Pokemon that have been added, and many, many more stones. So I'm like, I don't know, you know, exactly. Like, there's like these
Yeah.
8 different stones. I'm like, I don't know what this Dawn Stone does. Which Pokemon uses this, or which Pokemon uses this Elemental Stone? Were there new ones? And there's nothing in the game that makes it clear. Like, hey, this. If
Yeah.
I try to use like a Firestone, it won't like give me a list of Pokemon to be like this. You can use it on these Pokemon.
I
Um,
remember so not an elemental stone, but I was trying to evolve a Sliggoo into a Gudra, and I completely forgot that that doesn't evolve over like through levels. It evolves in the rain, and
oh, huh.
and
Oh,
the problem is that wasn't so much of a problem on like X and Y because there were certain routes that it was almost always raining. Lumio City, uh, almost never rains. So
I saw it for the first time like 8 to 9 hours in. I was like, oh, it can rain here in this game. Okay, yeah, interesting. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
I
Mika,
caught an
okay,
alpha Gudra before I had the chance to actually evolve the Sliggoo that I had caught like hours earlier.
that's funny. Mikael, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, going back to the DLC a bit. So, not to go on too much of a tangent, but I'm a bit surprised that I saw some people angry about the DLC existing because, as like, I'm not like the biggest Pokemon fan in general. I just play whichever games I feel like. But I just feel like it was expected. Like, why would there not be DLC for this Pokemon game? Like, they did DLC for Sword and Shield, they did DLC for Scarlet and Violet. I just kind of expected it here. But
Also,
apparently, this online thing is a point of contention for some people. Is that like a big deal? I haven't paid much
it
attention to it.
well, it is and it isn't. Like, it doesn't take that long to get the Mega Stone. The problem is that they advertised it, like, in a trailer, and it's like, "Hey, all 3 of the Calistars have Mega Evolutions," and they did not make it clear whatsoever. It's like, "Yeah, but you're not gonna get them through your playthrough unless you're, really a big fan of Greninja." Like, I used, like, Delphox, my entire playthrough, and I was genuinely a little bit upset that it's like, "I know it has a Mega Evolution, but I won't be able to get it until November. What's their fucking problem?"
Yeah, that's annoying. And it's also like for the people who decide to get this like half a year from now, like how will these quote unquote reruns for these megastones like limited time megastones go? You know, if you miss that season, when can you expect them to pop up again? And then you have to remember to like log back on throughout these seasons to get it. Okay, how long does it take to get those megastones if like you just have like a shitty party that you're going to rank battle with? Like, do
I
you have to be winning consistently?
I don't know because I went in with a fully
Mhm.
evolved team like day 1, like literally hours after the game officially unlocked in the US. I went in with like my like fully powered crew. So it's like I was obviously the opposite end of the bell curve where I was beating up kids. I was beating up kids. I genuinely did like unironically feel a little bit bad, but it's like I mean I got my Greninjite in
How fast did you get it just by like
half an
stomping
hour.
on? Okay, half an hour, and then when you win, like you get like I'm not sure exactly like do you get points when you win?
So the way it works is that you get a certain number of points depending on how many KOs you got, and then there's like modifiers for specific things. You would get like 10 more points if you were the first person to mega evolve your Pokemon, or if you had the most number of or if you got like a revenge KO and stuff like that. There's like all these little modifiers that do add up, and as long as you're doing remotely well, I can't imagine it will take more than like 45 minutes to an hour. So it's not that it takes that long to get it. It just shouldn't be locked behind this in the first place. Is basically
Yeah.
where I come down on it.
Yeah, so I'm sure people will do the math of like, hey, what if I just like have a shitty team and like I'm not good at like PvP battles? How long will it take me to get it? If like a just absolute worst case scenario, I think people will do the math. It's it's a shitty thing all around, you know. Like it's something that like it's it's not defensible whatsoever. Like there's no good case for it. Aside from like, please play our PvP mode. That's the only way. Like I tried to think of like if Time Stranger had a different like a similar thing, because I know back in Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory they had like a PvP online battle thing. But like, I'm like thinking like, imagine if like they locked off like some mega evolutions there for Pokemon or Digimon like through that. If Time Stranger had a similar thing, I'm like, man, that'd feel really bad. You know, I mean, they do have a similar thing. Don't get me wrong. They do have like there are pre-order exclusive Digimon like the Black Agumon, Black Gabumon that their entire lines you cannot get unless you pre-order, and they'll
No,
sell them
I believe
separately after.
you can buy them. You can buy them separately. It's still shit that you have to pay extra money for that. But Bandai Namco used to be really bad about their pre-order stuff. But now like as far as I can tell, you can still buy any of the pre-order content. It just like will cost more than it should. So you're not technically locked out. Like say with Atlas games where I believe I just can't ever get the Persona 3 Reload pre-order DLC on Steam anymore. Like that's just never happening. So
Do they offer
Bandai
the
sells
pre-order
them
DLC as that separately right now, or is it at a later date
for what?
for the Black Agumon, Black Gabumon for Time Stranger, like the pre-order exclusive Digimon?
As far as I'm aware, it is available, but I'm just checking right now. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
separate thing called Digimon Time Stranger pre-order bonus pack,
Okay,
which
okay. I
is
didn't know when it already
$4.
came out.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's a $4 purchase now, which is like again like most of the time when they do this stuff, it's all like pointless fluff, but they do sell it, so you never will miss out on stuff. I think FromSoft stuff they don't sell it, but FromSoft pre-order DLC is usually just those dumb gestures you unlock later on in the game anyway. It's just like
Yeah.
early unlock to that, so not a huge deal. But yeah, they do like sell the DLC, so you're not completely left in the cold. So.
For sure.
But yeah, speaking of the DLC, like, so the Pokemon DLC, when I was looking into this mystery gift stuff and all, I believe if you buy the DLC before a certain date, you can claim some other in-game stuff. And do you know if this is something which they'll make available later, or is it just like an early purchase bonus and that's it? You just can't get it again. How does this
Yeah, I
work
don't
with
know.
Pokemon games usually? Okay, fine. Because there's some cosmetic stuff with it as well, right? If you buy the DLC, you get some neon outfits or something like that. Yeah, so it's just like I don't know if it's worth that because there's so much customization already in the game. So I was just curious about that because since I'm playing it, is it something I should just buy the DLC now or like get it when they actually release it and if it ends up being good?
I think for me I would just like if I still like it by the time the DLC comes out, then I'll get it. But if I'm already off the game, then there's no way. So
Yeah, I'm not buying the DLC because it's like they sent us the base game and I liked it. There's like no way in hell they don't send us the DLC. Why would I pay for it?
but yeah, I mean, it's so far having a lot of fun. I will probably finish the game before the end of the year. But I'm really impressed and just overall really jazzed. Aside from like the some of the faults that we talked about, I'm just really happy that a brand new Digimon and Pokemon game kind of released like back to back, and both of them were pretty damn good in their own unique ways. Like, hey, that's childhood me was like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome. Both of these things I really liked. Oh, they have brand new awesome games. Having
Holy
a good
shit,
time.
2 cakes.
I know.
I remember I was thinking like on this day 25 years ago, I was probably playing. I might not have the dates perfectly right. Like Pokemon Gold and Silver, I think that hit 25, and Digimon World 2 on my PS1. You know,
Yeah.
and then that's when Vmon and Vidramon and all that season 2 stuff was like all brand new. It's like holy shit, you can get Vmon in this game. No longer
Okay.
friends with Agumon or
That's
whatever.
right.
Like so I haven't started a Pokemon, but I've been playing Time Stranger and I've got Pokemon, ready to go. And it's just like, yeah, this made for me like a nostalgia trip completely. And the fact that they're like both in terms of like high quality, multi-platform, well-supported releases is just like we could have been in a universe where that didn't happen, where these were 2-season flash in the pan, IPs in the late 90s, and that was it. But like, nope, these are here for the long haul. And we had to wait a while for the next Digimon story entry, but it's seems to have really good word of mouth and has done really well. And then obviously Pokemon, the Legends experiment has worked really well. We don't know the sales and the reception in totality for Zeta yet, but the initial word of mouth seems really good.
Before it bounce off of it, like two things I do want to bring up is, and they kind of go hand in hand, right? Where once again, whenever the new like Pokemon game comes out these days, people will question like, "Hey, why doesn't this entry have voice acting?" I'm like, really? Why doesn't this entry have voice acting? Because a lot of the cutscenes in ZA have like they have like they're framed in a way where like it's kind of weird that there's no voices.
Yeah,
Personally,
it was
go for
already
it.
bad enough in Sword and Shield. Like the opening cutscene where it's like it felt off, but it just keeps feeling worse and worse. And like I think at this point with C to A that enough people are just saying, okay, you either need to stop like making cutscenes where there's fucking lip syncing, or you need to give it voice acting. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Come on, man.
Like the way it is, like I can see why people really, really are kind of weirded out by this one, because this definitely feels like
It
almost like
feels
a
like
silent
something's
film.
missing. It feels like it's missing. You can
Yeah.
feel the absence, and it actively takes you out of the cutscene. It's like, why are you putting so much effort into the cutscenes? If by putting this much effort, the elephant is in the room. Address it.
Personally, I'm still like I'm still fine with have it not have it having voice acting, but that's because like James, you really nailed it on this one. This game has a really good OST. I really like the OST in this game. Like for all its faults, they really had a lot of bangers in this one.
Yeah.
It's a very lively, fun, varied OST. Especially like very very jazz oriented and some spots of it, which of course I'm always going to be a fan of jazz in that regard. But even then, like a lot of remixes to even like songs that I remember, like that's a really fun twist on this like classic tune that they've had on this game, especially
Yeah,
like the main battle theme.
You definitely haven't gotten to it, but I'll post a specific battle track in the voice channel so you can hear it. It's like, where is it? Okay, here we go. I remember when I got to this one song in particular, I had to actually just like put my controller down, like listen to it for a bit, because it's like, holy shit, this isn't a Pokemon game.
And we'll probably
This
hear some of those songs in a podcast in a couple months from now.
I could loop in this audio into this podcast, but then we might get flagged.
They will get taken down by Nintendo.
So I won't.
yeah, this probably
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's kind of a weird thing to bring up on an audio podcast. But it's like the track is called Battle, and then I don't know how you pronounce his name, Jacinth, something like that's the track that was shared with. So if people want to go seek that out,
Very electro swing, like very electro swing.
yeah.
I watched
I've
James
seen
stream
multiple,
it.
I've seen multiple people straight up say this sounds like it would fit in Mad Rat Dead, and it's like, yes, it does.
Ooh, yeah, you're doing that
I'm
wrong.
I'm surprised that like the fact I've seen this in like multiple videos, like comments for this song, and they've been like upvoted on YouTube. It's like, Nice America, why have you not ported that game to PC? There is obviously like a market, like apparently, like people. There's like a cult, like it's like a cult classic. You're leaving money on the table. Come on now. But that aside,
But yeah, the pretty strong first impression overall for me. I dig it. I dig it.
And of course, this is where I have to shout out that, of course, please read James's review up on the site if you're interested. Pokemon Legends ZA review on rpgsite.net. And then James has also led the charge in doing a lot of different, like very quick single page guides on where to find certain Pokemon,
very
FAQ type
quick,
answers.
and also the fact that like you'd think that maybe those like TM list guides and side mission guides, you'd think, oh, did I get it from Cerebi? No. All of that I did on my own.
Yeah, we've seen you in the staff chat doing almost sleepless nights in the lead up to this game. Like, oh my god, he's
Almost
still in voice.
sleepless.
Yeah, sometimes for the guide stuff we do, I do that sometimes, and it looks like James did it here, where you like play through the game and you just sort of like catalog everything, and then kind of shape it up for what people are searching for later, which helps out sites like us.
And that was the main new release that we wanted to talk about this week. But it is also, as we talked about last week, the Steam Next Fest. We talked about a few demos that were either released early or they had announced that they were planning to have playable into Steam Next Fest. And Josh, you had wanted us to earmark a little bit of time here just to talk about a few things that you were able to between sessions of Pokemon. Put in a little time with the demos available on Steam for some of these newly available games.
Yeah, it's that time of the year again. Another Steam Next Fest, right before Halloween. So it's always a fun time, like to go check out some upcoming stuff in the future. Some of the ones that I mentioned last week that I was able to play, I got to play like Ghost Vanguard. Is I think it has a crowdfunding thing going on, but has a pretty strong initial demo. It's like very much like a pixel art side scroller action game, very like combo centric, and it does have like a Hades style structure where you're going to room, getting power ups, and getting interesting modifiers for like your move sets. It's a very cool like proof of concept thing that I believe it is meant to like also promote like their crowdfunding campaign for Ghost of Vanguard. That's definitely a cool one that I got to check out. One that people really a lot of people talked about was Skate Story, which is coming out the full game in December. The demo for that is really cool and surreal. It's very much the setup for it is like you're a skater demon who wants to skate to go eat the moon. I'm not making that up. That is the setup for the game. So you kind of as you're going through like the stages, like a very surreal visuals. I don't even know how you describe the visuals. Almost, it's like a very dark, but I'm not sure how to describe the visuals. It's like dark neon-ish, kind of bleeds through your screen type of deal. Very surreal style to it. Eventually, you'll get to like a boss battle with the moon, and after doing that boss battle, where you start learning new tricks to do damage to it, you're placed into like this philosopher's jail almost. So, and that kind of gives you like this more open sandbox to go check stuff around before you get out of there, and that's kind of where the demo ends off. It's just like, hey, if you're looking for something cool, new, and different, but with is skateboarding related, but something that like you've never really seen before, definitely worth a look on that. One that
What does the moon taste like?
good question. Maybe it's like a chocolate,
Cheese.
white chocolate cookie.
But what type of cheese?
I don't know. Haven't you watched that cartoon?
Didn't Wallace and Gromit answer this?
Yeah, they went to the moon and it was cheese, wasn't it?
Yes.
I think you're right. Yes, yes. One I didn't get to try out yet, but one that definitely was on my
Wensleydale. That's what it was. Sorry. Guys, go on.
one demo that definitely came out of nowhere, as Adam reminded me at the beginning of this week, was for a vampiric adventure game RPG called Nighthawks. Adam initially reported on this game on May of 2020. It was set to release in 2021. Obviously, things happened in development where they really had to delay it, but there's a demo for it. It is written and designed by Richard Cobbett, who you might know from Sunless Sea and Sunless Skies. Art is done by Ben Chandler, who's worked on Unavowed and the Blackwell series. And then also another Unavowed staff, Thomas Regan, is on the music for this one.
This is from Road INA-DAI games, right?
Yes, correct.
And I know they do a lot of narrative games, so this is kind of the first time they've really gone more RPG.
Mhm. So definitely one like if you're in the mood for more RPG centric vampire games, because there might be a vampire game that might not be an RPG in the near future. Definitely want to check out Nighthawks. Another one that I really liked, but I'm a shmup fan, is called Birdcage. It's very there's a whole style to it. Very old school aesthetic, almost some Ikaruga-ish mechanics to it, but it's a very technically demanding shmup where like you're balancing like different modes of fire plus using a sword to swipe away similarly colored projectiles. Sort of like how you're color matching in Ikaruga. Instead, you use this with a sword instead. Very cool, pretty hard demo. Even trying to wrap my head around the mechanics. One that is on my radar.
Can I admit something while on that
Go
topic?
for it.
And
Yeah.
Chow will never think highly of me again. I've never cleared the second stage of Ikaruga. I've only ever been able to clear the first. I'm so bad at that game.
It's
No,
fine. It's a hard
It's
game.
actually a very difficult game, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
It is a game that like you really you're working to memorize it more so than like trying to clear it on like a very few clears. Like the skill in it is like very much memorizing patterns because it is a hard demanding game because you have to really be on your shit to color match on the fly in that game.
Like I was gonna say, like the hardest stage in Ikaruga, in my opinion, is actually the third stage. You'll probably crash into a wall before a bullet kills you.
Oh yeah. Another one that I want to mention here that I didn't get to yet, but I meant to before the podcast. We just didn't have time. It's one for a game called Hell Maiden, and that is from the developers of Little Goody Two Shoes and also Pocket Mirror. It is. I've heard it described, but in a positive way. Where it's definitely that studio's take on Vampire Survivors, but it has deck building mechanics and actual like distinct boss battles with their own mechanics in it. And it, of course, because it's from those developers. What was the studio called again? Because I keep
Astral Shift.
forgetting their Astral Shift. Thank you. Where they do have that very much that '90s aesthetic anime style that they, did in their previous games. So that's Hell Maiden. Definitely one to keep an eye out on if you're a fan of like the Vampire Survivors likes, but have like more mechanics going on in it as well. Um, there's also one that I enjoyed that I played at previous PAX. It's called Homura Hime. They actually have like a full demo out for that feels really good. It's part action game, part bullet hell in the same way that how Nier Automata and Nier like kind of do their boss battles with a lot of like bullet patterns going on. The demo for that it feels pretty good to play, like a pretty solid action game that's from published by Playism. And the last one I'll mention here is Shadow of the Road, and that's being published by oh my gosh, the Rogue Trader developers, Alcat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely one of the few first wave of games that they've taken up publishing on is Shadow of the Road. It's a strategy RPG tactics game. It sort of has like that samurai like mixing the era of samurai with some like cyberpunk machine mechanics into it. It's a really fascinating kind of blending of like these two aesthetics to it and a really lovely style. If you're into just the sound of that, definitely go check out its Steam page. That's Shadow of the Road. Those are kind of the highlights that I wanted to mention here of like the Steam Next Fest. Obviously, there's a ton more I wasn't able to get to. It's been a busy week on my end, but I always try to make time. Like, hey, there's so many like games out now and so many upcoming promising games that like, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
And I guess the last topic here before we go into news, this is an RPG that came out in early this year, I believe in March, that we haven't had a chance to talk about. It's an indie game that I played through, and I just wanted to earmark 10 or so minutes here to talk about it. It's Dark Deity II. This is an indie Fire Emblem like, so it's basically built in the vein of GBA Fire Emblem. So a few years ago, this is not a new, this is not new ground being tread. A lot of people have been trying to recreate that feeling of like the Fire Emblem 6, 7, 8, or potentially some of the early DS Fire Emblems like Awakening. And I played through Symphony of War a few years ago, and I thought it was really I never want to like besmirch all the effort that went into it, but it didn't really latch or click with me. I played Dark Deity 1 earlier this year as well, and it just felt like um more of a prototype. Like it had some general ideas about, having the foundations of a Fire Emblem game, of a strategy RPG, that chapter to chapter progression, but it just felt like very bland. I don't mean that in terms of like flavor, but in terms of It didn't have a lot of intricate systems. Like there were no like fog of war. There were no maps that had like traps or gates or mechanics, even like tiles that increase evasion or stats or do damage over time or things like that. It just felt very much like almost like a prototype. That's the best way to put it. Like it wasn't fully baked. Dark Deity 2, that's the one I wanted to spend 10 minutes on, because it did come out this year. It is an RPG and we've not covered it, so I kind of felt a little bit, and I'm a fan of Fire Emblem, so I felt like, all right, here's a good opportunity to see what's available and what's out there. For Dark Deity 2, I will say that the first like 5 to 10 hours I had with it, I was really, really high on it. They kind of overhauled a whole lot of things from the first game. It doesn't feel just like an expansion pack or a map pack or anything like that. Like they changed how the graphics, like how the UI is presented. They changed like how the sprites are animated. They changed like the scope of the like the field art. It's much less like wide and open and much more like constrained and almost claustrophobic, but in a way that feels good. Like maps that actually have like design to them rather than just being open fields with certain art tiles. They they added a lot of things that were missing, like those things I just mentioned, like tiles on maps that do certain effects, whether they, catch fire the next turn or give you an evasion or things like that. Um, they added like traits that the different characters in the classes have that are passives that you can combine in interesting ways. They completely overhauled the weapon system to actually be a little bit more Fire Emblem like in terms of finding items in chests or buying them from shops where the first game didn't really have that. There's this whole ability system where every character, when I think of ability system, I think of I know they've changed throughout the series in Fire Emblem, and the comparison I think is valid because it's clearly the vein that it's being built, underneath. I think of like the Tellius games, the GameCube, the Ike games, GameCube, Wii, Fire Emblem games, where the abilities are like tied to classes. Like certain classes have the ability to ignore armor or double their critical chance or counterattack first before the attacker gets an attack off. And this game incorporated something quite like that, where the first Dark Deity was just missing all of this. So when I was playing Dark Deity 2 and seeing how all these different things locked together and how it all influenced like the gameplay and the short-term progression of the map and the long-term progression of your units, I was feeling really strongly about it. I'm like, is this going to be like in my top 10? But unfortunately, the more I played it, the more it fell off. And almost entirely due to story decisions and narrative. And you might argue that, well, that's not the most important thing of a Fire Emblem game. Like we kind of said, like, well, Engage's story isn't that great, but it has some of the best maps, and unit design and gameplay systems in the series. So therefore, it's that's what carries that game. In Dark Deity 2, the general narrative like flow, like the actual like stakes, the actual conflict, I think is actually paced pretty well. In Dark Deity 1, I think they went too big, too fast. They were trying to like hit the major highlights and have every single moment try to out crescendo the previous one. So much so that in Dark Deity 1, it has about 28 chapters. You're already fighting dragons by like chapter 12. Like it just escalated too fast.
This is actually
And
one
I
of my
think Dark
biggest.
Deity-
This is actually one of my biggest pet peeves in any sort of narrative writing. Is just broadly stories that feel like they have to like constantly escalate or constantly one up themselves. Like let's go higher and higher and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then eventually just loses meaning. It's just like okay,
It's like watching Dragon Ball. Why is the villain it's like from fighting like normal dudes to like galaxy blowing like with their fingertips?
Uh,
villains.
I was almost thinking like Gurren Lagann, but
yep.
in
I was
this
actually
case,
thinking Gurren Lagann too. I know
Oh,
people
yeah.
have
yeah,
it.
but
It
that
felt
one,
like
but that one
caveman, too.
almost does it like tongue in cheek. That's not quite the right term, but it does it like it leans into it in ways that makes it work. Where in Dark Deity 1, it's they just want to say like, let's have this type of chapter because that's neat. Oh, let's do this sort of thing because that's neat. and it introduces like 2 or 3 characters every chapter for like the first 10 chapter, and it just like gives nothing, whether no character moments, no story beats, nothing has time to breathe. I was almost thinking when I played through Dark Deity 1, this game would be better if it had half the story. Like literally just take stuff out and this game would be better. Um, and Dark Deity 2, for the large part, avoids that. It almost does the Sacred Stones type route, where it spends the first part of the game just introducing reasons for the main cast to go from region to region and explain like this is how this country works, this is who rules it, this is like their main conflict, this is what's important to the people in this place. And you spend about 4 or 5 chapters there, and then you go to another place and you spend about 4 or 5 chapters there, then you go to another place and spend 4 or 5 chapters there, and you can actually see it start to like interlink together. Like, okay, it's doing the world building, I'm actually seeing the groundwork that it's laying without it escalating stakes because it feels like it has to. So I was really enjoying that. It's the character writing that really doesn't land for me. And I know people are going to have different opinions. I don't want to say that everyone has the same idea of what makes a character good or what makes a character bad. But this game, kind of like Fire Emblem 7 for the GBA, has basically 3 main characters. They're effectively siblings. The main character is Gwyn. She's like the redhead in the key art. Then it's her brother Riordan, who's the archer, and then there's the elf Arthur. And they all have different personalities, and they're all like voice acted pretty well. Like the voice acting, I don't know my voice acting studios very well, but I think it's a Texas-based dub because it has a lot of like anime, like especially like Funimation anime voice actors. Like it has the voice actor for Todoroki from My Hero. It has Caulifla, I believe, from Dragon Ball. It has Soul from Soul Eater.
Yeah,
And
that's
like
basically the
Micah
Funimation
Soulsud.
Crunchyroll group. Also
Yeah.
Borderlands.
Yeah, and I feel bad because I named like the anime characters and not the actors' names. But that's Micah Soulsud. Let me see the voice of Todoroki is, because he's the voice of Riordan, who's one of the main characters. David Matranga. So it has like and then it has a lot of more unknown voice actors, which I think is fine for a game like this. But it has some talent behind it, and I think like it reads well in English. So that's not the problem there. Um, the main issue is that the main character is kind of thrust into a leadership role that they weren't ready for, which can be the foundation of a good storytelling. That's basically Ike, or lots of other characters. That's an archetype that has been well done before. But however, Gwen, the main thing that drives me saying it drives me up a wall is a little bit too dramatic. I'm trying to be a little bit more level-headed, but she never feels confident in her decision. There's always for times where she's like, I'm not sure what the right thing to do is, and then someone else has to chime in and say like, we should do this or we should do this. And then the game kind of admits in later points like, I only made it this far because I have so many allies. And that also is like a well-worn trope. Like no one makes it anywhere on their own. Like these things are like on paper things that can work, but when put together and executed in Dark Deity 2, Gwen never really steps up to the plate. Other people around her always seem to make the decisions. She worries that she isn't good enough. And then everyone else is like, no, we came here because of you. I'm like, what are you talking about? You got there because of you. And then she just took credit for it. And maybe I'm not giving it like all the grace that it could be. Like you could see what they were going for in terms of that, like having someone being thrust into a leadership position that they didn't ask for because of their heritage or their upbringing or whatever. But it's just the whole game, I was like, oh my god, I wish any other protagonist was in this role, someone who has some confidence in themselves, someone who is willing to make a hard decision, someone who's willing to like not have like a conflict. We talk about like conflict management styles, whether it's in a workplace or within like relationships, and hers is like avoidance, like never facing up to anyone's having a different belief than her. It was one of the worst things. Like I ended up starting skipping dialogue just because I couldn't deal with it. It was like, this is one of the worst protagonists I've ever dealt with. And I feel bad because someone voiced that protagonist, someone wrote her, someone had an idea for what they wanted to do, but it just didn't land. And then unfortunately, the other two characters, the siblings Arthur and Riordan, are both handled much better, but they're almost treated in the game as like lesser, like, oh, if only we were good as Gwyn. I'm like, you're the ones doing most of the decision making here. Like, why are you stepping aside for her? I don't like this at all. And I'm sorry to be like, I don't know if polemic is the right word, but it really did in the back half of the game impact my enjoyment significantly. And I'm like, that is valid. Whether or not everyone has that same opinion is, of course, fine for not everyone to feel that way. But I got to that game, I was like, oh, thank goodness I don't have to deal with these characters anymore, because I just wasn't enjoying it at all. The gameplay, great. All the systems,
I
yeah.
feel like when it comes to character writing, I'm trying to speak more broadly. This is when it like
Mhm.
really falters, when there's like a certain intent that's trying to be made, but the actual reception of what you actually get out of the characters is just like completely at odds with the intent. Like sometimes you might have a character show like a moment of weakness, or make an imperfect decision, or show a flaw or something that's all like intentionally part of their writing or their story, that they're building something with it. But then you have characters like what you're describing, or it seems like they're trying to portray her a certain way, but it just does not come across that way at all, and it just like there's like uh, a mismatch there. It just doesn't work at all. So then it
Yeah,
just
like if the,
like the characters in the game talk about Gwyn in this case and receive her very, very differently than how you do, and it just
yeah,
doesn't work.
and like if the dialogue was voice acted slightly differently with some different direction, if some of the order of events was slightly different, like it's one of those things where if you read like the cliff notes, like here's the summary of what happened, it's like, oh, that sounds like that seems like a good framework for a story. But yeah, just the execution just wasn't there. um and a lot of the dialogue in itself was kind of very like, and it felt fitting because, first of all, both Dark 81 and Dark 82, and this is some of the last comments I'll have really good portrait art, which I think a lot of indie games kind of struggle with. So these like both games, I think that is one of their strengths. They have their own style without trying to emulate like the uh the different artists that have worked on the Fire Emblem series, but while still being at that same level of quality. So that's always been good. And then the gameplay systems have been good, but the story just did not land. However, I will still say that despite all of that, out of all those like indie Fire Emblem likes that I've played, it's still probably one of my favorites. Just purely on the gameplay systems alone. So I do still think that if you're a Fire Emblem fan, especially like a traditional chapter to chapter Fire Emblem like head, then I do think it is worth a play. Just unfortunate that the story. Oh yeah, the one thing I was going to say is that the story itself is always a little bit, and I don't say this as a pejorative, a little bit kiddie. It's got that like we're targeting that middle school, high school crowd. Like one of the characters always complains whenever they have to go up or down stairs, that sort of thing. Like that's the sort of humor, which is fine. It's not taking itself too seriously, and that's like I think that lands. It's just when it tries to take itself more seriously and like touch on some more like poignant topics, it just doesn't work, or not as well as I think they intended it to. So that's my quick thoughts on Dark Deity 2. Still think it's a good game. I'll probably review it. I'll probably still rate it highly, but like why not higher? Well, you just heard here what my personal impression of why it kind of fell off, especially towards the end.
Oh, maybe I should try that game. What was that game from Kaga that he was trying to make his own kind of like a Fire Emblem skin again?
Vestaria Saga.
Yeah, maybe I should try that. I forgot.
I
about
actually been
that
meaning
game.
to. There's two of them. I think there might be like two of them and a spinoff. Or no, there was a spinoff that they turned into a second one. I'd have to double check how the history of that. But there's more than one.
I confuse this with a Kemco game, but this is a separate thing.
That's an insult.
I thought you loved Kemco games.
No, no.
So I think that covers us for the games we wanted to talk about this week. So of course, do go to rpgsite.net, see all the Pokemon features, both the review and all the guides on there. Um, we have one other feature up on the site that James worked on back from his trip to Tokyo Game Show. You had an interview with devs of Final Fantasy 14 and Monster Hunter Wilds, and
Yeah,
we've been talking about, of course, the collaboration between those two recently. So yeah, just take it away, your interview opportunity that you had at TGS.
Yeah, so there was like a conference interview and meant to get this up a bit earlier, but unfortunately with like Pokemon, I kind of had to take the back seat for a second. I had the chance to it was a conference style interview, so it wasn't just me, but I did have a chance to ask a question and got a pretty good response to it. I was just curious about like what sort of decision making goes into, hey, what like monsters, I guess, for lack of a better term, what goes into like deciding which goes to which game. And I even said like Arkfeld, I guess makes sense because it's like the main monster. That feels like it would be the obvious choice for at least on Final Fantasy's end. But how the hell did you like decide on Omega? And had some interesting responses to it. So yeah, not much more to say to that. But interesting that like Capcom explicitly wanted Omega because of like the story of Monster Hunter Wilds and how they felt like it could tie in thematically and also would be a fight that would just be unlike anything else they could realistically come up with for a monster otherwise. So interesting stuff.
Before we go into news, Mikhail, you mentioned that you had just one other topic you wanted to talk about to wrap up the Pokemon discussion. Sorry that we didn't catch this earlier.
Yeah, so basically, what happened is I was just wondering if I should do a comparison for Pokemon because it's a cross-gen game, and given how to to put it lightly, how dog shit Scarlet and Violet looked and ran on Switch One, everyone was wondering how this would be. So I bought the game on the Japanese eShop because it unlocks early. Like I think it was like 12 or 15 hours before the North American eShop unlocked, and I spent like 6 or 7 hours with the game on Switch 1. Then I tried the Switch 1 version without the upgrade on Switch 2 to just see how it was, and then I played the Switch 2 version. And it's surprisingly good on Switch 1. Like it's not going to be 60 FPS, but it's very playable. Loads like not too bad or anything. And yeah, I was just surprised that it's not a terrible experience on Switch 1, at least in the opening few hours. I know James is like when he was playing it for review, he was talking to me about some parts where he was like, I can't wait to see how this is on Switch 1, and I will test those out when I get to those. But yeah, so far it seems to be pretty good on Switch 1, and I kind of expected it to look a bit better on Switch 2, but it just feels like you're playing the Switch 1 version with 60 FPS and faster loading and better LOD essentially. So yeah, you're getting a polished game on Switch 2, not that much better than Switch 1, but it's the 60 FPS is very welcome. Yeah, that's all basically.
Yeah, and it's a good thing to call out because obviously Switch 2 is still very new and not cheap. So for those that are interested, like, should I bother playing this game on Switch 1? How much am I compromising? So Mike Mikhail does have a nice comparison feature up on the site for Pokemon Legends ZA between playing it on Switch 1 versus Switch 2. So thank you for the reminder to give that a shout out here before we go into news. And before we go into news, I do have to step out just due to another commitment. So I will hand this off over to Josh to talk about Dissidia. So, all right, Josh,
Yep.
your congrats.
Let's go.
All right,
All
no,
right.
thank you.
Take care,
Yes,
Brian.
yes. Sorry that the time didn't work out, but have
Yeah,
fun
you're
talking about Dissidia and other things, and see you all next week.
All right. Take care. All right,
Bye.
moving on to the news of the week, the big one. Everyone's very excited. So, shortly after we ended the podcast last weekend, Square Enix had a surprise for us. They were teasing a new Dissidia title. It was going to be revealed shortly after we recorded our podcast. It was revealed this week, and they were straight up front. They said it's going to be for mobile, so they already set expectations, in line. But they revealed Dissidia Duellum Final Fantasy for iOS and Android next year. They're taking signups for a closed beta test. This is kind of an odd one because this is Final Fantasy characters from several mainline titles getting um, transported into modern day Tokyo. So they have like modern day outfits in this new entry of Dissidia, and it's also they're sort of changing up the playstyle of it, where it's not like the 1v1 titles on PSP, which were the original Dissidia and Duodecim Dissidia. But it's also not quite like the 3v3 competitive PvP of Dissidia NT, which was in Japanese arcades, which was later ported to consoles and PC several years ago. This is like
Several years ago. Josh, I need you to look at the
That's-
calendar.
That's almost like half a decade. Wait,
several years ago.
Yeah,
almost
Several
a
years
decade
ago. You know, the time is relative, they say. This one is like it's a 3v3 team boss battle arena, and there's two teams who are doing PvE, but they're not directly competing, fighting against each other. It's like they're like racing against each other.
Oh my
Fighting-
god, it's
fighting off.
Exoprimal?
Oh, maybe. When you say it like that. But yeah, but it definitely has the same like mechanics as you'd expect from this city. And I forgot the City of Omnia as well, which was more the turn-based style for mobile that closed down in all territories some time back as well. But it still has like that. Hey, you're accumulating bravery, so when you attack, you're accumulating this resource. That when you do a full, like a normal attack, you can expend all the bravery that you've accumulated, and whatever amount of bravery that you saved up, that'll be like the amount of damage that you deal until you save it up again. And then, several of the screenshots that we already saw, like the skills on your panel when you're playing this game all have a rarity assigned to them. So yes, obviously it does have a gacha mechanic, and it seems like the gacha mechanic will be rolling for these like skills that you're able to use in battle. There's several interesting things that they highlighted with this game announcement. Obviously, the one that people are interested in is like the new. What are the new characters coming to this one? Because we have like some of the mainstays that they announced: Warrior of Light from FF1, you have Renoa from FF8, you have Cloud obviously from FF7, Zidane from FF9, but then you have interesting ones. You have like Pronto from FF15 as part of the first wave of these announced characters, and you also have Gaia from FF14. So she's like the representative of FF14, which kind of got
it's
a lot
a
of
pretty
FF14
weird
players
choice because
off guard.
she's actually a missable. Like, if you didn't do like this quest line, you actually never meet this character. So
It's interesting because like people have also noticed from the silhouettes for unannounced characters that Yuraha from Final Fantasy 11 is also going to be in it. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So what I'm interested. What are your guys' like initial impressions for the
I'm like the
Square Enix,
very first
why-
comment.
Square Enix, why can't you make a normal fucking Dissidia game like Duodecim? What's your problem?
What were you saying, Chow?
Oh, I was saying, like, there's one comment I see from the official video. It was like, we were sorry to announce that EOS on 2026.
Yeah, so obviously, the concerns with this one is Square Enix mobile titles have, relatively short lifespans in their global version, depending on how successful they are. Like stuff like FF7, The First Soldier, the FF7 Battle Royale game for mobile, like had a short lifespan because that never really caught on. But then, like, there's also been like kind of a lot of like recent end of service announcements for like a lot of like long-standing Final Fantasy titles in the West, like FF Brave Exvius. I know FF Record Keeper shut down in global a while ago, but I believe that's still going in Japan.
And not just like Final Fantasy stuff, like Romancing Saga Reuniverse also had end of service. So at least in that case, I had to eat crow. That lasted longer than I expected. It was like what, 3.5, 4 years, something like that.
But yeah, it's kind of like a who knows how long this one will last, in that regard, and who knows how that'll shake out. It's also kind of a weird, like, people. I know a lot of people have been saying like, oh, like it seems like Square Enix has been sunsetting a lot of their like mobile titles. Maybe their mobile initiative is like finally, they're finally either downsizing it or just letting it go. And to me, it just feels like it's kind of they're on to like their next new wave of mobile titles because even before this, they announced Dragon Quest Smash and Grow as like a brand new Dragon Quest mobile title being released internationally. So I think it's kind of they're moving on to like newer mobile projects that were already further down the pipeline. Who knows how it'll go from here on out? But for me, I don't. It doesn't feel like they're sunsetting. It just feels like they're introducing a new wave and seeing what will catch on.
I probably would give the game a try, but like most Square Enix like mobile titles, they just don't last. It's like, and you, I don't know what they would need to keep someone in there, but also I don't know. It's like I'll just play on launch, then never play again. That's probably my impression of it.
This is
They
just
also announced-
anecdotal,
Go ahead.
but apparently there were some Japanese comments about this game. This mobile game doesn't have like the greatest production values in terms of just its visual fidelity and whatnot. And apparently there was some chatter like Square Enix should have given this project to a Chinese dev instead of whatever dev they gave it to. Like, you know, they want the Hoyo presentation or whatever, or something really high like production, because this game doesn't seem to really have that.
Right, and that's kind of been an interesting sentiment that's been going throughout the mobile crowd this like in this era where it just feels like a lot of like games that are designed for both mobile and consoles and PC in this free to play space. Like when it comes to like the anime styled games, like it feels like China is really leading the charge on that front, definitely in terms of visuals. Where a lot of like Chinese developers have kind of nailed down the formula of like what works in that crowd compared to like contemporary ones coming from Japan, which is an interesting shift. Like way more intensive development pipeline it feels like from Chinese developers compared to the Japanese developers in that regard. They also mentioned like there's to be story scenes in this game, like actual like interactivity between like the characters, and there's like they're going to have like Japanese voice acting, so no English voice support. They're already letting you from the get go on this one, and they also have like line text messages aspect to this game as well, which would happen are starting to pop up in like other mobile games too. So like if anything, I guess it's kind of an interesting what if scenario of like what if these characters from other Final Fantasy games like met up like in the real world, and like how would that go? And
You know what? They're gonna do this as a link to Kingdom Hearts 4.
I wonder what kind of stupid shit they're gonna like, what framework they're gonna have. Like, is Warrior of Light gonna be like the boomer of the fucking Final Fantasy crowd? Like, how does a car work? How do you like get to like the next floor on this building? You know, like are they gonna do that for Warrior of Light? You know, I don't know. That'd be funny. And also, because you see these the initial wave of characters that they announced, they're characters that don't have armor on them. We know their faces. They have modern day outfits. But what if like characters like Golbez in this game come into this game? How are they gonna do Golbez in this type of game? Where like, are they just gonna have Golbez still like in full armor, but just has like, I don't know, a suit or something? I don't know.
No. They'll do his after years outfit. In after years, he doesn't have his big suit of armor anymore. So
yeah, that's true. But then like X Death. How about X Death?
A tree.
A tree.
It'll be like those those like Japanese like school plays where one guy is big and tree. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just have like an X Death perform on a stage play and it's a tree. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be a tree.
So characters who are really known like in their armor, outfit, like they don't have like an out of armor thing like X Death. Like how will they do that? I don't know. So interesting to see what will happen here. Other than that, that's kind of, we just have preliminary details that we'll probably know more once we get hands-on impressions from people who get accepted to the closed beta test. The Android closed beta test is running from November 6th to November 14. And yeah, and it'll release sometime next year. I'm with you, Chow. I'll give it a shot, but I'm still a little bit burned by how they handled Dissidia NT. Yeah, because I actually like Dissidia NT. Like my friends and I really, my friends and I are big Gundam Extreme Versus players, so Dissidia N2
I
was like an
remember the game was
interesting
pretty
twist on
okay.
that.
I remember the game was okay, but was there a complete trash netcode that was like
Yeah.
literally unplayable online?
The
So
PC version of that was like it's like even beyond the trash netcode on the platforms that are released in, like the PC version was like way too exploitable because all the stats that you got in it like were handled by a notepad text file. So you can literally open up like a notepad text file, give yourself max brave and max HP, set it to read only, and then you're invincible and do max damage. That's how.
oh my god.
Yeah, the PC port of that game is hot fucking garbage. You can even like open up a text file, like give yourself like the max rank, like in raw and whatever shit. It's like it was so
Like, you won
dumb.
the game.
It was so dumb. It was so poorly developed for that platform. So, but yeah, that's just me crying over spilt milk that apparently happened 10 million years ago, according to you guys. For me, it was several years ago, man. It was it was like 2 to 3 years ago, right? Right. So that's Dissidia Duellum Final Fantasy for iOS and Android.
I still have the Dissidia. They had a press kit for NT, which had some soda in a can. I still have that unopened. Maybe I should take
Time
a
to drink
swig
it.
when I play. Yeah, I should take it when I play the mobile game.
I really hope they do like almost like an Octopath Zero stuff or Opera Omnia for the city because that was like it was a pretty fun turn-based RPG that had like a shit ton of characters and deep pulls from the Final Fantasy series. Like they really should consider doing like an offline single-player version of that. I think it would do well and have all the characters aside from the collabs, obviously. All the characters.
Yeah, I heard that game was very good. I didn't really touch it. I just heard the game kind of closed down from being too generous and lack of general content or something. But the
I mean,
game
it was already long
sound.
in the tooth. Like it wasn't like it was like it was a long running game at that point. You could only do so much until people moved on.
But yeah, there's a
Uh,
lot of IPs that Square closed down, and they definitely could use an offline version.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if the Octopath Zero initiative will help boost that in that regard. Because I know people like want near reincarnation, sort of offline single player version of that as
I
well.
want those Final Fantasy Tactic Brave XPs or whatever those shit was called. I forgot what they're called, but the tactics that
The
was a
War
gacha game.
Divisions, yeah, War
Yeah,
Divisions,
I want an offline version of that with all
yeah,
the gacha elements.
be interesting. But since we're on the topic of Octopath Zero and whatnot, then we got a new press kit showing off the Monster Arena Museum primary antagonist. Adam, you help put this together. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Square Enix every month basically they release kind of like just like a new they literally call it a media kit of their upcoming games. So I have not played the mobile game, but this new media kit introduced like the antagonist. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right. Partis 3, ruler of all, and he is seemingly like the main antagonist who follows like the other three. So there's like the three like that they revealed initially, and this guy is like the big bad. And I saw some people chatter that like, oh, this guy is basically like a later storyline in the mobile game, so they're including him now into this version. May not be exactly the same, but like this is like your ultimate foe compared to like the earlier
Artist
three.
the Third.
Yeah. Then they introduced, in terms of mechanics, just a few small ones. There's like a museum, like you said, as well as a monster arena. A monster arena, you can have like a monster. You have a capture list, and you have arena matches to face off against captive monsters. I'm assuming there's some reward and collection there. And then the museum is all about music, so you can somehow collect music through the game and play them there. So it's just like a, like an in-game BGM list. And then they introduced like 4 new characters, I think. There's a cleric named Pius. Of course, his name is Pius. A dancer named how do you pronounce that? Shersha. It's one of those Irish names. It looks like Saurice, but I know that's not right. I think it's Shersha. A merchant named Corinda, and a scholar named Zerk. So they've revealed like 15 of the characters that you can pick up in these games. These games have more than just like the 8 of the Octopath other games.
Damn, they're breaking the Octopath code name.
Yeah, I can't call it Octopath anymore. Well, it's Octopath now because you have 8 in a battle, but you have more than 8 to choose from.
It gets me wondering, like with the museum features, like I hope you're like able to like kind of customize like what track you want to play, like whether you're in battle or on the field, almost like how Time Stranger does it. because I would love to just kind of pick and choose which Yasunori Nishiki tracks I want to play freely. That'd be awesome. But, yeah, so that'll be coming still early December 4. It will not be eligible for our Game of the Year podcast because it's releasing December. We go from the December of the previous year to the November of the current for that. It will not
But
be
what
eligible.
games came out last November or last December, excuse me, that are eligible this year? I need to remind myself.
That's a good question.
I'm checking right now.
Yeah. Now you got me thinking.
Indiana Jones.
That's not an RPG, but
It's not, but it's like that's the one December release I know that.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Oh,
Fantasian Neo Dimension. The thing is we already gave Fantasian its flowers. It won a couple years ago, so that would be like a remaster category.
You're right.
Not a whole else big came out last December. A lot of indie games. Frontline Girls Frontline 2.
There you go.
That's gonna be a strong heavy hitter.
Fairy Tale 2.
Yeah, Fairy Tale 2.
Oh, God.
Chow's favorite.
Okay. Then we also got a new trailer. It's kind of like a remix trailer, not necessarily new, but the Princess Ranger trailer for Monster Hunter Stories 3, Twisted Reflection. And it's basically a mirroring a previous trailer, except it's showing off, hey, that your main character, they could either be a male or a female. So in this one, showing you the female version of the main character. So you can go toggle, whether you want them to be male or female. So just letting people know you can do that.
You can do that in the previous game
else.
as well as the remaster of the first game.
Yeah.
I mean, it matters more in this one though because the protagonist is voiced. So
right.
Oh yeah, true. Moving on, we have several release dates of Ash and Steel, upcoming medieval fantasy RPG. I also believe it has a demo on Steam right now as well. It is coming out on November 6th. This is from Fire and Frost Studios and published by Tiny Build.
Yeah, this is that low fantasy medieval game where it's like no dragons, but there might be like a werewolf or something like that. Kind of an indie project. It's one of those things where like I would maybe be interested in it if I had time. But there's just so much other stuff I want to get to right now that it's not a good time.
We also have an announcement that the previously released Mado, Monogatari, Via, and the Wondrous Academy game is coming to PC via Steam in 2026. That released earlier this year in the West for consoles, namely PlayStation and Switch, in late July 2025.
I might play this. Like I was interested in it, like because I did play it like not last TGS, but the TGS before, obviously. And what I previewed, I was like, yeah, this might be neat. And Junior reviewed the the console version. I don't know if he played it on PS5 or Switch, but he seemed to like it well enough. And it's like, yeah, maybe I'll play this on PC. I can't make any guarantees. Like if it comes out right next to Story 3 and like Dragon Quest 7, I forget the subtitle. That ain't happening, but maybe.
Owlcat is coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. They are bringing Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader to the Switch 2. I believe sometime next year. I don't know if they gave necessarily a date.
They just said coming soon, I believe.
Oh, coming soon.
If I remember correctly.
I did not look into this. Will this support the mouse? It has to, right? It has to.
I'll probably ask about that, but I am very curious to see how it runs because I haven't tried it recently on console, but when I tried it at launch on PS5, it ran really badly there.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
I've hopefully they are able to tune up the UI to play to the Switch 2 strengths, and hopefully the text isn't too small, like when you're playing on a handheld. I think that would be like one of the key things they would have to really work on because that gives a lot of text at all times when you're playing it. They also mentioned that the alpha for Dark Heresy, the next expansion coming to Warhammer 40k. Actually, is Dark Heresy? Dark Heresy is a different.
That's a
game?
brand new
It's
game.
an
That's a
It's an
different game.
CRPG.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay,
there's
sorry.
more expansions or like DLCs coming to Rogue Trader, but yeah, this is the next game.
Okay, Dark Heresy is a separate game. Yeah,
Yes.
so they're all bundled together. Got it. And that alpha is arriving soon. So quarter 4 of this.
I'm not very well versed in Warhammer lore, but I do know Owlcat actually released a video basically explaining what's the difference between Rogue Trader and Dark Heresy, because they're like tackling like different subjects of like the Warhammer universe. So it's not just like a sequel. It's like, hey, we're kind of showing like a different part of the universe now, and we have like slightly different gameplay systems. And I don't remember the proper nouns or whatever, but it has like more of like a detective, like investigation type component to it also, just because that fits like the framework of the story that they're showing in this game. So it's not just Rogue Trader 2. It's like another CRPG in the Warhammer 40k universe, but it's like with a different twist, which is kind of interesting.
Rogue Trader, like you're more of a commander type in charge of like the spaceship. Almost.
Yes. Yeah, Brian reviewed it, and I remember him talking on the podcast, like in the Warhammer universe, like a rogue trader is like actually like has like almost like a dominion. Like you're not royalty, but you have like influence and power, and you're gaining that and exploiting that and whatever. Where in this other game, you're not a rogue trader, you're something else, and you're more like not gaining dominion and power, but you're more like influencing things from like a lower level. But yeah, it's a different type of it's a different slant.
I mean, good on them, because these are expansive projects, and they're just like kind of working on them, like, with the Switch 2 version now, and now Dark Heresy. It's just like they're churning on top of their managing a publishing division. Owlcat's a busy studio. We got a delay announcement for Witchbrook. This is the next game from Chucklefish. Along with this delay announcement into sometime next year, they released an interactive map for the game as sort of like, hey, we're sorry we have to delay it, but hey, here's an interactive map if you want to take a look at that. This is still on track for Switch 2, Switch 1, Xbox, PC via Steam, and Xbox Game Pass. So, just kind of making sure like they're giving themselves the proper time to get it all up and working perfectly. Just not a bad thing.
I have a feeling this Witchbrook game is gonna catch fire whenever it does release. It feels like it's just building anticipation, even with like even outside of like my hyper focus like gaming sphere, just like more broadly, it seems people are interested in this because
You think it's sort of catching like almost like a Silk Song-esque phenomenon?
I mean, I don't know, like Silk Song, but it's got that more kind of simulations. Even I don't mean to use the word casual in a demeaning sense here, but just someone's like, oh, I get to play in like a colorful witch academy that's has no baggage attached to it. Hopefully, on a game that would probably run on practically any computer you want to run it on, probably, and just seems to have that appeal. But I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of anticipation for this, even outside of my like narrow circle. So
yeah,
I just hope it doesn't end up as like you remember what happened with Sports Story on Switch, the follow up to Golf Story.
I don't.
It had this years of okay, so Golf Story was this Switch exclusive indie darling from a small team, and then they announced their follow up, which was Sports Story. So instead of it being like a golf like exploration RPG type thing, like RPG mechanics and all, they would just cover a lot of all the sports essentially, and everyone got very excited. I was excited as well. It just went MIA for many years, barely any updates, and then it just showed up in a direct, and it was out soon or it was out after the direct, and it came out and was really really bad, unpolished, bugs, crashes and stuff. And apparently the devs left like a hidden dev room which you could access through like some debug thing which spoke about the bad like work environments at the studio and stuff, and then it got patched and the game just like ended up being mediocre and no one ever heard from them again. So but this was like years of anticipation and everyone was excited for it, and like Nintendo promoted it in a direct. It's like still exclusive and stuff, so I just hope that doesn't happen to this, because like it's just like Chucklefish, everyone loves their games but they always keep getting delayed. This isn't like developed by them, but they're making it in partnership with another studio. I forget the name, but yeah, like I just hope it ends up being good in the end, because like you said, this has that quote unquote Stardew Valley appeal where you have this very interesting premise and it's a game which will run on basically anything So yeah, let's see how it goes. But yeah, it's coming out on like everything except PlayStation, and it's out on Game Pass also. So let's see what happens when it
Yeah,
comes out.
they kind of have almost a perfect storm going on, depending on when it exactly lands next year. We'll see. And of course, lastly, a new update for the Inazuma Nation. Let's go! The Level 5 has announced that they're holding a new live stream for the upcoming Inazuma 11 Victory Road called INA-DAI. And that'll be airing on October 21st, so just in a few days, starting at 6 a.m. Pacific time. They'll just be sharing the latest updates on Inazuma 11 Victory Road. I'm pretty sure there's no more delays. I think they're dead set on this release date of November 13. I think it's just going to be good news. They're going to share just more info on what to expect, since we're pretty much a little under a month away from the big release. So Inazuma Warriors, our time's almost up. It's almost here.
Didn't
We're
Hino
getting
say
there.
on Twitter that this wasn't like bad news? It's like,
I believe so.
don't like we're announcing a stream. Don't worry, it's not bad news. Okay.
I feel like he's had to say that a lot for this upcoming game release. I think he has to know. There's no way he doesn't know. So yeah, that'll be soon. And that's pretty much it for the news this week. Once again, a relatively light news week. With the big releases of Pokemon Legends Z to A. Other than that, I'm not sure what to expect for next week. If there's any events going on or any big releases upcoming this upcoming week. I know that I might want to try out that what was it called? The Fantasy Maiden. What is it called?
Fantasy Maiden Wars.
Fantasy Maiden Wars.
Just like
Dream of the Stray Dreamer.
Oh, because they believe in the non-believer or something. I was close.
Yeah.
I have a friend that wants me to try it. He's the biggest Super Robot War fan, and he's also a big Toho fan. So it's like a perfect.
Well, there you go, match made in heaven. Me, I'm a big Super Robo Wars fan, but I'm kind of whatever on Toho. But my friend for years has been swearing up and down like this is better than most recent mainline Super Robo Wars releases. Please play it. Okay, man.
I have
it's just
it,
like
but I
10
haven't
million
like,
hours
played much
long.
of it. Yeah, I've heard it's really long.
Yeah, because this is basically it was released episodically of like between 4 episodes, but each of those 4 episodes were like also really long, and then this all just being bundled together, so it's just like a giga game. So I'm like, okay, well, I hope I get it done
Well, you know what to
this
do.
year. I mean, I'm still not even know the Super Robo Wars why. I keep on meaning to get back to it, but there's more new releases to try out like every fucking week. I'm like, oh.
I still haven't tried it, but you know what I love? I love people keep sending me Rufei memes in Super Robot War. There's like Hima Yui's like having argument. It's like we need more. It's like push your self-destruct button, Rufei.
Yeah, they kind of they have some good exchange in Super Robot Wars. Why they kind of shit on Rufei, which understandably why they do.
Look, I finally have a Chinese main character in a Gundam series, and he's a fucking misogynist. God damn it.
Okay, well that wraps up this week's episode of the Tetracast. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Mikhail. Thank you, Chow. Thank you, James. And of course, thank you, Brian, who had to step out earlier, for joining me at this week's episode. I had to commandeer it away from Brian. Okay. You can find us, at rpgsite.net. Visit the main site. Go read up on that excellent review from James from Pokemon Legends Z to A and all the guide work that he's been doing for that. You can find us on, Facebook, rpgsite.net, youtube.com/rpgsite.net. You can find us on Twitter/X, Blue Sky. Just search up for RPG Site. You can find us where, you find your podcasts. Any podcast app that you use, just search up Tetracast, find us there. And of course, visit us over at Discord, discord.gg/RPG site. We have a very active community there that loves discussing RPGs and discussing just generally funny shit on the internet, and a lot of Pokemon craziness over there. Until then, see you next time, and we'll be discussing whatever happens. Who knows? Thank you for listening.